Microphone check, microphone check. And yes, Ma, is him, the prodigal son, and I'm back. It's been a long time. I've been working though, been working on the business and, been doing life. As you can see, we went away with Sarah's Life Matters, and now it's one mic. I thought Sarah's Life Matters was why. I'm going to release a documentary shortly after this. Been working on it for years and years. It's based on a true story, and it's kind of controversial. And folks told me that I shouldn't release it because it might negatively affect my business. What I'm going to talk about today is not about politics or the 2024 election. It's about freedom of speech. And freedom of speech is the right to express one's opinion without fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanction. And it's the First Amendment guaranteed liberty or right. Styles P of the legendary Locks shared an opinion. And his opinion was that he preferred overt or out in the open racist as opposed to covert hidden racist. And I was like, okay, I agree with that. Let me know where you stand. I think most people would. For his opinion, he was attacked by somebody he considered a friend. His opinion or his perspective was attacked as if it didn't make sense. And it did something to me. It bothered me. It brought an emotional reaction. And I'll let you look at it first before we discuss it.
Boy, so no disrespect to him. This argument is bullshit. At the end of the day, the logic that I want a racist with his finger on the trigger than someone who may be racist and I don't know. Like that's the craziest shit. It's like saying I want a gun to my face, then maybe there's a possibility someone might drive by and shoot me. Nah, I don't want either, right? At the end of the day, a lot of, especially black men that come from the hood in a certain age group are still shell-shocked. They hide their misogyny and their bigotry behind this illusion that they're intellectuals because they succeeded, right? Second of all, they secretly voted for Trump, but because of his bigotry and his misogyny, but ended up losing. And now they want to say, hey, Biden's just as bad. And they all like to go back to criminal justice reform bill from the 1990s. But these are the same people that believe that they can be reformed. These are the same people that believe second chances exist. But Biden doesn't get a second chance for making a mistake with a criminal justice bill.
Mistake.
As if he could have done it by himself, as if he was the president. I find this to be very, very, very disingenuous. And as much as I love, Styles, and he's my guy.
I did an interview with Torre, and we discussed my opinion on politics on that interview. In that interview, we discussed my personal opinion on politics, how I view things. Key words, how I view things, how I feel about things, the things that I like. Now, a longtime friend of mine, Jacob York, he played the video of it and then gave his opinion on the things that I said and went into however he felt. Cool. Jacob York, longtime friend, connected with Biggie, a great business mind, a man that I respect. But in the video, he chose to call me disingenuous. I've been called a lot of things in my life. I've never been called disingenuous. So normally the old me would have got mad. I didn't even get mad, because if that's his opinion, that's how he feels. So I didn't even choose to get mad. But here's how I choose to see. See, Torre asked me about the presidency. See how Jacob put the video like I choose Trump over Biden. I said I prefer Trump over Biden because I like to deal with my racism straight up. I prefer to know what's exactly going on than people sleeping. That's my opinion. That's how I feel. That's how I would do it. Whether it's politics, real life, on the corner, I prefer the guy that's straight up racist over the sneaky racist. And here's why I said it. I try to explain to people, when Trump was in office, you spoke about racism with your white coworker, right? You spoke about racism at the barbershop. You knew your enemy Yeah, see, we've been going, whether you have a loud racist or a quiet racist, they both racist. Now, you may like the silent racist. I may like the loud racist. I like to know my enemy. Like, I just kind of, I don't want to sleep. Now, when you think about the last 4 years we went through, we don't say nothing but Biden is sleepy, and that's, whatever. But we don't really talk politics anymore. Your white co-workers don't come to you talking about racism no more. You're not in a barbershop talking about racism. You know why? Because it's the quiet racism and you're getting rocked to sleep. But we are here nor there because we might disagree on that too. And that is okay. But if you have a difference of opinion, it doesn't allow you to call me disingenuous because you don't agree with my opinion. Now, if you were to listen to the whole interview, Jacob York, which I said is somebody who's older than me, who I admire, who's done business with Biggie, all of the greats, right? He didn't mention the part to you that said, I don't fuck with the red side or the blue side. Now I'm going to get crucified for that.
When I heard this, and you can go back and listen to the rest of it, it's a good listen. I think Styles made a lot of sense, whether you agree with them. When I first heard it, I had an emotional reaction, as we usually do. And then I had to figure out what exactly he said that offended me, or why was I so offended? And my first issue was that he didn't have a problem with the misogynistic, violent, criminal lyrics of groups that he managed. But he had an opinion. He had a problem with Styles' opinion, with his perspective. And it was a class issue. It's like he was saying because Styles wasn't raised in a certain place or wasn't formally educated, his opinion wasn't valid. Also, he was a Trojan horse, a gatekeeper, an overseer. He was no different than the people that were telling Kyrie to play ball, shut up and play ball, or telling Kanye to shut up and rap. The only difference is that he was African American. What was Styles saying? He said what he believed. He said that he preferred somebody that told you exactly what was in his heart, what he believed, as opposed to somebody that was pandering for votes. He was also saying that Trump and Biden were cut from the same cloth. That they were both, if one was a racist, then they were both racist. And I'm not calling either one of them racist. I'm just saying if he was saying if one was a racist, then both was a racist. Mr. York refers to Biden's crime law, which contributed to more prison sentences, more prison cells, and aggressive policing as a mistake. And let's listen to Mr. Biden in his own words. Let's
back to the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now.
Ooh.
And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. I'm the guy that said rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it and notice it. And even when we notice it and we know it occurs, we don't know why. So you cannot make rehabilitation a condition for release. That's why in our system, there's the federal system, you serve 85% of your time. It's a shame, but we don't know how to rehabilitate. But there is a consensus, and I will cease. A, we must make the streets safer. I don't care why someone is a malfactor in society. I don't care why someone is antisocial. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society.
And if you listen to the language, the super predator language, it was just, it was a lot. And you wouldn't expect this from Biden, who is supposed to be the total opposite of Trump. But I hear a lot of you saying, okay, that was a long time ago. It was just one mistake. You know, everybody's made a mistake, right? Unfortunately, or fortunately, Biden has a 40-year record of mistakes.
Blinders have been taken off. They've all of a sudden seen a hell of a lot clearer. They've seen, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
When may I expect dinner, Beulah?
Presently, Mr. Herrick. Presently.
What would the noontime be without the classic Leave It to Beulah? Beulah, who's always in the kitchen.
But never seems to know what's cooking.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Even call centers, was rushed overseas in the hundreds of thousands. How many times you get the call? I'd like to talk to you about your credit card. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. They're going to put you all back in chains.
No problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
I think Joe Biden might be suffering from that same white entitlement and privilege and ego, where he's just that old school white male who feels like, hey, man, they need me. I don't need them, or I got them already.
Joe Biden is under fire this evening on comments he made about working alongside segregationist senators in the past.
Biden recalling his early Senate career, bringing up two segregationist senators, Herman Talmadge and James Eastland, who called African Americans an inferior race. I was in a caucus with James O. Eastland, Biden said. He never called me boy. He always called me son. At least there was some civility. We got things done. We didn't agree on much of anything. We got things done.
I think the two-party system, although my Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this, I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black in the South. Other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind a little bit.
And by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community.
It's that old school white male.
My vice president was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Not the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean, and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
My son is Attorney General a year in Iraq, came back, and that's one of the things that he finds was most in need when he was over there in Iraq for a year. People would come to him and talk about what was happening at home in terms of foreclosures, in terms of bad loans that were these Shylocks who took advantage of these women and men.
Final thoughts. Well, this wasn't about politics. or the 2024 election again. I never told anyone who to vote for or castigated anyone for their vote. I'm not calling either one of these guys a racist, but if Trump is a racist, then this guy is surely a racist. This was about freedom of speech, and it's a call to be intellectually curious. Remember, it's family, community, state, and country. Finally, George Washington said, "If freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to slaughter." Comments, questions, like and share if you got something from it. Also, be looking out for the documentary, and I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace.